Good morning again. It's time to resume, and it's going to be a busy session. But before going to any proposal, actually, we like to bring the confer consultation first, because in the mailing list in the last meeting, we have some observation about use of confer in the consensus process. So I'd like to go briefly that you know that we're using confer for actually mostly remote participation to participate in the policy consensus process. And again, I just want to reiterate that chair considers mainly discussions in the OPM, remote participations, and in the open policy meeting, you can do show of hands, or you can participate by confer as well. And mostly people remotely, they're participating in the confer. So those who don't have any account yet, please create it, or you can use your MyAPRICOT account if you have any, and log in, and you can actually play with it. There's a test proposal running, so you can tell that you are supporting or not supporting. Oops. So can we see the demo of the confer in the screen? Yes, here it is. So you can actually, if you log in, when there will be consensus or the proposal we are discussing, we'll have options to support or opposing the proposal. You can do strongly oppose, you can be neutral, you can support, and you can strongly support. So using this confer tool. And there's a test proposal, you can play with it now if you want to, and we encourage you to use it. And the consultation discussion, mainly we are sitting here, that are you using this tool as a gauging consensus tool? That is, earlier there was a question of using confer to influencing the result of the consensus process. So for that, we have some authentication process now that you must have a valid email ID to have a confer account, because it is a community process, it's not the member-driven thing. But if you are already a member, you can use your MyAPRICOT account to log in. But we always continuously trying to improve it, and we chair feels that is a very good tool to gauge the temperature outside of this room especially. So if you have any comments or feedback or any suggestions for improvement it, we like to hear from you. We sent this request to the mailing list earlier, but didn't get much feedback out of there. So if everybody is okay, we can continue like that. Or we really appreciate and welcome your comments regarding use of confer as a consensus gauging tool. If anyone wants to make any comment, please come forward to the mic and make your comments.
Awal from Bangladesh. I'm just curious, it's just a comment. I'm just curious, do we need 5 status for confer, or just 3 is okay? Agree and neutral, and support, neutral and oppose. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, Awal. Sunny, you want to say something?
Sunny from APNIC. No, I just thought, I mentioned that in the past, some community members did express concerns about using this tool for the consensus process. And so we did request at the chairs, because this is a community tool and the chairs use it. We requested the chairs to put it to the mailing list for comments and also allow some time here to discuss. So this is your opportunity for everyone to raise your concerns or to express your comments here. From Secretariat point, we really need clear guidance if we have to work on this tool to make it better or not. We need clear guidelines, what else we can do. This is This is what we came up with, and it was used in the past policy SIG meetings. But we are happy to take on to improve it if the community thinks that this is a good tool to use. But we need clear guidelines, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you explaining it. So anybody from remotely make any comment on Confer tool, because it's particularly for the remote participants? I don't see any more comment, and but still you have opportunity. But if not now, maybe you can, in the mailing list, you can still post your comments and suggestions for improving it. Because from chair point of view, we feel that it's a good tool to have to allow remote participants to participate in the consensus process. So. Sunny, you want to make a comment?
Sunny again just want to get a clarification on your comment that, do you intend to open this comment period how long on the mailing list, or until next conference, or for a year, or forever?
Actually, what I try to mean that we are using it for a long time, and we chairs actually still want to use it. Okay. The improvement we've made so far, we can still use it. We're going to get some hit from the outside of this room. So it's really helping us. That is what I'm feeling. But of course, there might be a scope of opportunity. So we are a consultation process, we are closing it. But in mailing list, you can always get comments of improvement. And I don't see any problem in that.
Yeah, definitely. Just want to get a clarity on that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'm closing the discussion this moment on Confer. And now I will request Sunny to come up with Secretariat Proposal Assessment Report.
Thanks, Chase. And again, Sunny from Secretariat, just providing assessment of our Secretariat staff colleagues on the proposals that are going to be discussed and put to the consensus call. I don't have slides because I'm just going to use my laptop to read with the Prop 124, clarification on IPv6 sub-assignments. We don't have any concerns nor any observations on those ones, because that proposal is not discussing anything about to do with the allocations, currently how we allocate or we delegate resources. It's simply a text change for us. So if it reaches consensus, we will put that for the editorial comments. On the Prop 126 PDP update, it got various steps in with that proposal. And I would like to only highlight two of those. Again, if it reaches consensus, we will update the PDP and put it to the editorial comments. But I would like to highlight just little discrepancy in the comment period. One step talks about 2 weeks, and the other one talks about 4 weeks. We might get clarity when that proposal is presented. But I just want to highlight that one. The other things is really for the community to understand what the proposal is about, and to discuss regarding those steps that have been proposed. The other concern that I would like to, it's not a real concern, but Secretariat staff do need some time to prepare the documents and everything to publish on the website. So we do request that when you're discussing, just allow us a week's time for us to prepare those documents, everything. So take that 1 week into the consideration of your timelines, that you're going to propose and discuss. Regarding Prop 127, change of delegation size of 103/8 to 23. Again, we will update the document and put it to the editorial comments as discussed and agreed here. We may need to change some systems and our procedures that should take effect of that change. And we should be able to implement that within 3 months. Proposal 1 to 8, multi-homing not required for ASN. This will be a simply editorial change for us. Proposal 1 to 9, abolish waiting list for unmet IPv4 request. Though it says abolish waiting list, but as a proposal, as a policy, instead of leaving the room for different interpretations, it would be nice to clarify what happens to those members who are on the list currently, or on the waiting list currently. What would happen to them? Instead of everyone making their own interpretations, it would be nice to clarify that, what will happen to that, and then moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunny. So now we really want to enter into the policy discussions, and the first proposal to be discussed today is the clarification of IPv6 sub-assignments by Jordi Pellet.
Okay, so in my slides, I have the complete text of the policy proposal. I don't think, especially because we already discussed it or presented somehow the goal of this policy change before, I don't think we need to go through all of that. So I will skip right and make some comments in every slide, but not really reading the text. If somebody believes that I need to go into the detail, please tell me, just raise your hand and I will go into the details. Basically, the problem is when we drafted the IPv6 policies, we started from the existing IPv4 policies, right? So in IPv4, most of the people has been using NAT. So when you actually are, for example, an enterprise or a university or something similar, and you get an assignment, a direct assignment from APNIC, you typically are not going to give part of the public IPv4 addressing space to the users. You are typically going to use private addressing space behind a NAT. So that's the main difference why this is impacting in what we have with IPv6, because in IPv6 we don't have NAT and we don't have private addressing space the same way as we have with IPv4. So in addition to that, in some situations, there are documents from ITF that says that while in IPv4 the normal thing is that the host will get a single address, in IPv6 it's perfectly possible that the host get a complete /64, because, for example, it may have virtual machines running on site, and again, you don't want to NAT inside the virtual machines, right? So those are most of the points that I am trying to address across this policy change. So as Sunny just introduced it, this is not really impacting the registration services. It's just a clarification so the people, when they read the policy, they understand that they can do that. Because right now, in my opinion, reading the text, and this, again, has been the same discussion in all the regions, is not clear you can do that. It's the same when you connect, for example, point-to-point links. Part of the link can be in your infrastructure, so within your network according to the existing policy text, but another part is not there, or maybe you are providing a VPN, and in addition to that, a complete /64 on the other side of the VPN. So we have, again, the same problem. Or we can have situations where, for example, a university contract a video surveillance service, an external company, a third party, and they are deploying their own IP cameras inside the university, but maybe the recording services are not in the university, but are external. And maybe they are using the same addressing space as you have in your network infrastructure. So all these kind of examples are to show you how many cases we have that with the existing text is not really clear you can actually do that, or you are acting against the existing policy. So the objective of the policy is to clarify the text, to make sure that if you want to use a direct assignment from APNIC for other devices that are not part of your own infrastructure, or for interconnections like point-to-point links or similar cases, or to provide the hotspot services to guests, or to provide the hotspot service to students, or even to allow students to bring their own server because they are doing some kind of experiment or something, you can actually provide the same addresses as you have in your network. They don't need to bring their own addressing space and then you need to route internally in your network, right? So that's basically what I am trying to clarify here. As I already explained it before, a similar situation occurred initially in RIPE and reached consensus. We had a similar text submitted to APRICOT, and there is a last call ending today, so if nothing happens, it will be approved today. And then we had the same or almost similar text that I have here. I don't recall anymore exact text because I ran across different versions, of course. In LACNIC, in 18, it has been already confirmed by one of the AC members in the mailing list that they started with the same policy proposal and they have already adopted it. And that's it, basically. So, how I am addressing the problem? Again, in the slide you have two columns. In the left you have the existing text for section 2.2.3, and in the right you have what I am proposing, and I have highlighted in red the basic changes. So, I'm going to read this and try to clarify and get questions if there are any. So, assigned address space. Assigned address space is address space that is delegated to an LIR or end user for exclusive use within the infrastructure they operate, as well as for interconnection purposes. So I am making sure here that if you are using those addresses for interconnection, that's valid. The address space assigned is only for use by the original holder of site assignment, as well as for third-party devices, as long as they are operating within the original holder infrastructure. So this is solving the problem that if you have devices coming to your network, you explicitly allow them to have your addressing space assigned by APNIC. And finally, there is a case which I didn't comment in the previous slides, which is we want to make sure that the ISPs are not using end-user space for providing services for two reasons. Because first, it's not the intent. Second, if they do that, they will give one single /64 or one single IPv6 address to end users, which is not good, okay? So in this case, I am also making sure that as a consultation with the staff, they told me, of course, a data center providing services to housing or hosting services to third parties, they should have LIR space. So if you have a data center for your own company, it's okay. But if you have a data center for services to third parties, you should get LIR space. So I am trying to make sure that we get that correctly. So sub-assignments are not allowed outside that infrastructure, for example, using sub-assignments for ISP customers, neither for providing addressing space to third parties in data centers or similar cases. Now, I got a question in the last break, a very interesting question, and they asked me to clarify this. Is this affecting LIRs? Basically not, okay? This is affecting just direct assignments to end users by APNIC. So if you are an LIR, there is no change for you. This has been assessed already in the previous comment from Sunny. This is not basically affecting anyone. It's just making sure that if you are an end user and you are actually doing this, you are clearly not against the policy text. Because depending on the interpretation, you may be acting against the policy text, which is the actual text. I think my text provides a solution to that and avoid anyone being interpreted as misusing the existing policy. Advantages, fulfilling the objective and making sure that we match the real situation in the market. So again, repeating the example, we make sure that if you are a university and you get a direct assignment from your NIR or your registry, in this case APNIC, you are not going through, you are not going against the policy text, so you can really provide addresses from your from your assignment to devices, even if they are third-party devices. It's not correct that the university provides, let's say, ISP services to students. That's a different thing. But if the students are inside the organization or they use a VPN or something like that, that's good. I don't see disadvantages. I think it's a clarification and it's good. Nothing against or nothing impacting the resource holders. And that's it. I am going to keep in the screen the text in case there are additional questions. The folks that approached me during the break, if you believe I need to do any additional clarification, I am happy to do so, but I think with what I said, I responded to your questions. Please let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. So I'd like to open the floor for discussion. So anybody who wants to have any comment, supporting, opposing this proposal, or any other suggestion, please come in front of the mics. I don't see any comment, but there is some email in the mailing list. There's a discussion. You respond to that, but maybe you can we can bring it here actually. That we got a mail from Wendy Long that there seems to me a misunderstanding of the term sub-assignment in the proposal. Sub-assignment is the issuance of portion of your prefix to an external third party recorded at the RAL level or provided in a public address, public database. Point-to-point prefix is generally exempt from being reported to the registry in the case of the guest Wi-Fi or VPN. Again, these are not generally considered external sub-assignment subject to reporting.
I responded earlier this morning to this comment. For example, regarding the point-to-point links, Owen was saying generally. So if you say generally, it seems that it's not sufficiently clear. So I think my text is clarifying that. Owen also was tying this policy text, the actual policy text, to registration. And I don't think that's tied to registration. It's tied about how you use the addresses, okay? In fact, if it's tied to registration, I guess the staff will have assessed that in their comments. I think that was clarifying it. And last but not least, Owen knows, because he's in the AC, that the 18 had the same policy proposal from me, and it has passed. So, well, he may disagree, but the AC as a whole and the community in 18 accepted that.
Okay. Yeah, Awal.
Awal from Bangladesh. I think this is just a misunderstanding about the wordings in the current policy. So again, I posted in the mailing list. Again, I want to emphasize on that. Sub-assignment, we need to make more clarification on the word here, sub-assignment. And the new text here actually serving the same thing to me at least, that sub-assignment is not an official, so where we are talking about unofficial use of the internet infrastructure or maybe third-party equipments in a premise. But sub-assignment here, in my understanding, is an official declaration of sub-allocation or sub-distribution of IP address held by a LIR or an ISP or an end user. So it's making the same sense with the current wording to me. And the second one is about the internet infrastructure they operate. So, for example, in IPv4, if we distribute public IP address, forget about private one for the second, we can use this address for the facilities coming from third-party operators within our premises. So the term internet infrastructure they operate actually serving the same wording to me. I'm not directly opposing the proposal because the wording's here more clear, but to me, it serves the same thing that current proposal has. Thank you.
Okay, I understand what you mean. The point is that, of course, I am not changing the concepts on what needs to be registered or not. So that's not part of this text. That should be somewhere else in the policy text. If we believe that that should be clarified, it should be done in another place of the policy manual. I don't recall right now the structure of the policy manual, but probably there is some place where it says what needs to be registered and what's not. So I am not changing that, so that's why I am not clarifying that. If I clarify that here, probably I need also to touch text some other places. Okay, regarding the IPv4 addresses, this text, even if my policy proposal title is about IPv6, is actually helping to clarify also the same situation for IPv4. Okay, so this will also help in IPv4. If you have a university, you have sufficient address space, and instead of using NAT, you are superassigning public IPv4 addresses to students, this text is helping you to make it, let's say, according to the policy.
Yeah, I'm Venkat Ramanan from ISPA India. Thanks for clarification in the coffee break. Well, as we discussed, the language may be kindly changed so that for easy understanding, as our friend also asked for. Also, I wanted to know about if there is an infrastructure sharing, what is it for? In the same condition, if the infrastructure is being shared, what is the point 3 states?
Can you give me one example of this infrastructure sharing?
See, I have an IP, my device is there with the university, which is in shared with another university, with the group companies.
Okay, I think this is covered by the same example I provided about a video surveillance company offering services to you. So you may have devices from other universities in your network, and now this is clearly allowed. Before, it's in the fuzzy. Now I think is very, very clearly, with this proposal, I think is very clearly supported.
Okay, thank you.
Rajesh Charya from ISPI, speaking of my personal. I'm just clarifying Venkat Ramana's statement. Like I'm giving the example of India. In India, the government is trying to create the infrastructure of the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi infrastructure among the lot of ISPs. And if let's assume that my Wi-Fi equipment is there with my IP, but that can be used by the other ISP's customer, so that will not be directly my customer. There may be some arrangement between us, but that's not the commercial arrangement.
Okay. If the addressing space is from ISPs or from an LIR, is that the case?
Yeah.
It's not affected by this change.
Okay.
That's already allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. Any more questions or comment? Or anyone thinks that this change might impact something else which we are not considering here?
Can I?
Please.
Just I'm amending my example. Let's assume that if I'm not an ISP, I'm a customer. Because in India, now the government is opening this sector for the private sector that if anybody wants to install their own hotspot access points area, they can do. So that's not my customer. ISP has given the IPs to the customer, and then the customer is sharing that IP with other customer or ISP or non-ISP.
But I think my response is still valid in the sense that if the addressing space is LIR allocated by the NIR, it's okay. We are not changing that at all.
No, it's not LIR because the LIR is sub-assigning that IP addresses to the customer, and then customer is sub-assigning to the other person.
But again, you don't have that restriction if you get initially an LIR allocation.
Yeah.
An LIR allocation can be always sub-assigned to third parties.
But still, my suggestion will be that if you can just amend the wording a little bit so that it will make more clarify rather than the gray area into that wordings. Because somebody can take the different view of the wordings.
I am not really sure to get it. So what a specific suggestion you are doing to the text? Because I don't know, if it's just a grammar or sentence, maybe that can be allowed at this stage. Right?
Because you are writing, for example, using sub-assignments for ISP customers. Means you are saying that ISP's customer can. But that's the customer's customer, not ISP's customer.
So customer is an ISP or customer?
One ISP, one customer, and then customer again. Because the middle one is not an ISP, LIR, anything. He's simply the user.
Okay, but no, I think you are getting it wrong. What it means is, if you get from APNIC or your NIR a direct assignment, then you cannot further sub-assign. But if you got an LIR allocation, this is not for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So this is not applying to you if you got an LIR and you break it down and down and down again to as many levels as you want. That's not affecting you.
Okay.
So anyone want to speak about this proposal? If no more, I'd like to share Burton or the mailing this feedback what I've received on this. Oh yeah, Simon.
Simon from Bangladesh. Speaking on my own capacity, Jordi, I guess policy will always be an umbrella. If you go deep down to that one and make it, bring the technical things in the policy, then it doesn't remain as a policy. It becomes like a BCP kind of thing, right? So the confusion from the community, you saw so many confusion are creating. From where we are getting the IP, who can sub-assign, how can we sub-assign, right? What Rajesh ji already mentioned. So I think the existing policy, the wording may change, but the existing policy which you have already mentioned in the left side, it's okay because it's an umbrella view and we should remain with the umbrella view. That's a comment. Thank you.
I understand what you mean, but I really disagree because if you really literally read the existing text, you cannot, as a university, provide addressing space to third-party devices. That's my reading of the existing policy, and that's the reason it has been amended in other regions as well.
All? Yeah.
Okay. Awal, so give me very precise, please give me a very precise example that actually blocking me not to use my address to third-party equipment that is operated in our data center, for example. With the current policy, current wordings of the particular section.
So if you have a data center offering services to third parties, you mean that?
No, I'm taking the wording from the new proposal. Let's say I'm a data center. I have my own assignment. From APNIC, from RIR, and third-party equipment are hosted or maybe located in our data center. They want to use my address space. Why it's actually this policy is blocking me to do this? How?
I got that consulting which the staff. If you come for a data center to get an allocation or an assignment, they will tell you you should go for an allocation. So my intent was, you don't have data in the actual policy text, so let's make it clear.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I probably would prefer to go to APNIC and ask for a allocation instead of an assignment because I need to. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point, yes.
Thank you. If there is no further comment, I'd like to move on to the consensus process with the present text presented by Jordi.
Wait here.
Yeah, you should wait here. And the next proposal is also yours, so you're not living here for a short time, for this session actually. So, so the proposal Prop 124, clarification of IPv6 sub-assignment. Yep. Brajesh Jain. Okay, this is the last comment we'll be taking. Thank you.
Brajesh Jain, I do not know last comment or on the consensus process. So I wanted to react to the consensus process, not as a comment on this.
Okay.
I will come back later.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so clarification of IPv4 sub-assignments. So, Jordi put puts proposal with clarifying some of the text earlier and shares some text to make it more clear. So there's the objective of his proposal. So those who are strongly supporting this proposal, I will request you to put your hand. Pardon? Okay. Yeah. To make it live. Can you help me? Can I do it here? Please hold on for us to make ready the confer things ready. Yeah, if you, those who don't have, still have confer account, you still have time to do that. Yes. The network seems to be slow here, so taking a bit time. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's here already. It is the screen you can see now. Seems fine. Yeah, the conference is ready now. So from the floor, I would request those who are strongly support the proposal, please put your hands up. Strongly support. Okay. So those who have support for this proposal, please put your hands up. Yeah. Thank you. So those who want to be neutral about this proposal, you can raise your hand now. Thank you. Thank you very much. And if any of you opposing this proposal, you can raise your hands now. Thank you. Thank you very much. And if anyone is strongly opposing this proposal, no. Thank you very much. And if you look at the confer, from the room's temperature, from the remote participant view, and also if you look at the mailing list, we think that the proposal doesn't reach consensus. Thank you very much for your support, Jordi, but if you want to improve it further, maybe probably we need more clarification.
If I can say something, I think this proposal has been around for 1 year or 1 year and a half. I think the important point here is that we don't wait for the meeting for having comments, because then we cannot improve it. So please go back to the list, those that are opposing, and say why you oppose, and we may reach a clarification among all of us. I mean, this is not about my proposal, it's not about me writing it, it's about we really need this clarification, or I am the only one misinterpreting the text, and also the other 4 registries are misinterpreting the text, because we have in some of them already reached consensus, so we need to think about that.
Anyway, thank you, Jordi. Let's hear some comments from the floor.
Thank you once again, Brajesh Jain. Actually, my intent was, while the intent definitely appears to be okay, it is referred to the wording of the languages which could be there, and on the mailing list probably that can be taken up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Aftab Siddiqui. Yeah, I have the same opinion. If you can look at the numbers and the people who raised hands, I'm not sure why someone is strongly opposing it, but mostly are neutral support or slightly opposing it. My opposition is also on the same point. The text is rather clarifying the situation, is complicating it. So it would be much better to, some use cases were discussed here, if we can address the use cases and make the text simple. The intent is fine, right? And as Simon said, it is not impacting my operations at all. So, I mean, I hope that you are not trying to address the operational issue with the policy. So if you clarify the text so that it is easy to understand for the people who are coming up with the use cases which they think is not going to help, so that would be much better. I mean, my vote is between neutral and slightly opposed. So there's nothing wrong with the intent. The problem is the text as written. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, all that have comments, please come back to the mailing list, not just stay here, okay? Thank you.
So you had asked for various options. You should also consider this. If changed, if amended, what is the ratio of this consciousness?
Yeah, actually, that you can also make a comment that if you think that text should be changed, and again, that should come in a mailing list first,
yes.
And then you have the options to talk in the meeting that this text should have been like this, so that would have been better. So that really helps, actually. So if we are in the consensus, those who want change, it is, I think, I really don't like the idea. You should propose the proposal of the mailing list for more than a month, and we have all got options to write. So I would encourage everyone to actually look at the mailing list, raise your feedback there. So actually, it's easier to reach consensus here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Izumi.
Yes, Aitanli Okitani speaking as an individual. It seems that people generally agree with the intention, but keeps on continued discussion. So perhaps like after this session, people who are opposed to the proposal come up and talk to you, Jody, to improve the text. And it might also help talk to the APNIC Secretariat on how to clarify the language. And one approach maybe, rather than changing the policy text, put like corner cases in the guidelines might save us from changing the tree of the policy, as Simon has described it. It's an umbrella, but clarify some of the special cases that needs to be clear that they can be approved. So I think you can explore several options.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zumi.
Actually, one comment, if I am allowed to, one comment from someone that is doing policies in all the regions or policy proposals in all the regions. One very good thing I see in other regions is that the Secretariat provides to the authors in advance to the meeting, several weeks in advance to the meeting, what they call an impact analysis or assessment analysis, okay? I think that you shared your comments here, but I think if we have this, for example, very detailed after this meeting, it can probably help, not just me, but to the community, to improve a new version of the proposal. So just a suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion, and thanks to Jordi. So we should move to the next proposal, and again it's proposed by you. And it's good that we are ahead of time, so we'll get more time for this proposal. And this is Prop 126, PDP update.
Okay, so as I explained it earlier this morning, basically the point here is that we believe that in the actual PDP, and I am trying to simplify it, not trying to make it more complex, but in the actual PDP, my vision is that we are asking consensus too many times, or even asking consensus that something already reached consensus in the community by a reduced group, and that makes sense if that's going to have a big impact in the APNIC membership, but not otherwise. And that's already possible with the AC endorsement or not endorsement, and also the AC can get the vote from the community if they have adopted. So I think that's well covered. The other thing is, it has been mentioned, and this application, I always forgot the name of the application. How is the name of the application? Okay, the Confer application allows the people from outside to participate. But look, it was 10 people, 9 people. That's not really a lot of participation, okay? And I know it's possible to read for the chairs the emails in the mailing list, but if I recall correctly, for this policy proposal, in the last year, I got only 4 emails from a community of how many thousand people? Okay, so I don't think the people that is not allowed because they cannot pay for it to come to the meetings, it's really concerned to provide inputs because they are not sure, according to the existing text of the PDP process, to influence that process. So what I am trying to make is really making sure that this is officially part of the process, because maybe the actual chairs consider that something that needs to be done, but future chairs may have a different view, and strictly following the policy process, the PDP process, they will not need to consider the emails, right? So we really need to fix that. So that's basically, and I added here in bold letters formally. This is not in my policy text, but I thought that it's important to state that. It's formally to make sure that the PDP contemplates the inputs from the community that is not in the meeting itself, okay? In different regions, there is different PDPs. I just want to mention that recently, 1 year ago, in LACNIC, we reached consensus about a similar change to this. So previously, LACNIC was only considering formally the sense of the meeting room, but now it's formally considering also the mailing list and a few other changes that I am going to explain now. So the actual policy, the actual PDP process is suggesting a minimum text of 4 weeks before the start of the open policy meeting. I am not changing that. In a previous version, I reduced that text. The report, the feedback that I got in the previous meeting from the community is don't change that because we are doing local translations, we need time, so I am not changing that. Now, and responding to a previous comment from Sunny, the actual text and my proposal stays in 4 weeks, and the understanding from the Secretariat is that they need 1 additional week to prepare the web page. This is not in the PDP, okay? The PDP says 4 weeks, I am saying the same. I don't think if I submit a policy proposal, let's say 5 days before the 4 weeks, it should not be accepted. According to the PDP, I have the right that is accepted. What I am reading from the actual PDP is that it needs to be sent to the list. So what we are missing is maybe instead of wait for the publication on the web page, if there is an emergency situation or if a policy didn't reach the timing, because whatever reasons, we can just send the plain text to the mailing list and then take additional few days to publish the web page. I think that should be the way. I am not changing that, so my policy proposal is not impacting this, but this is thinking loud about how I see that. Now, the other thing I am changing is, again, I am still keeping the existing period of time, which is 4 weeks before, and I agree that if that time is not met and there is time in the agenda, we can go for an informal presentation. That's fine. Now, the existing text say if there is an informal presentation because it was not submitted before the deadline, the proposer will need to resubmit in time for the following meeting. I think this may be needed, maybe not. For example, if I don't get any inputs from the informal presentations I did this morning, why I need a new version? It's just because I changed the version number, don't make sense. So I am just deleting that text. So if an informal presentation has been done, if there has not been comments from the community, why cannot just accept as a formal submission that version? Why I need to artificially change just the version number? Don't make sense. I think this is something very, very easy to agree for everyone. Now, step 2 in the actual PDP is consensus at the meeting, and because I believe that the consensus should be also in the mailing list, I am changing the text just to match that. So I am changing also a definition which is general agreement to what is the intent of the existing PDP and what actually is being done. The chairs look for what we call road consensus, right? So I am trying to use the same terminology that we have in other regions just to make it easy for people that work in different regions that it's the same, it's not a different thing. We are looking for road consensus. So I changed that text, just general agreement for road consensus, and then I changed also to say consensus is determined in both the SIG, so this meeting, this session, the SIG mailing list and the OPM, and this responds to one of the questions before from the Secretariat. Now I talk about 2 weeks. What this means? Right now, the chairs, they are superheroes. They need to take a decision in the minute. They are forced now to determine consensus now, after I finish my presentation and we get comments. What I am suggesting is, let's them have 2 weeks maximum. If they have a decision right now, it's fine. They announce their decision. But if they need to talk among them, let's them have a maximum of 2 weeks to discuss if they believe the consensus has been reached or not. I think that's fair. This has been accepted also in LACNIC. So now after the meeting, the chairs may have already a decision, but maybe they need some time to discuss among them. And I think that's good to have, because they may need to read again the comments in the mailing list, look at the videos from the session, and take a decision. Okay? It's not just a voting. So looking at the numbers of strongly support, strongly oppose, neutral, whatever, is not good enough. They need to think about why there is a strong opposition. Is because some technical concern has not been understood correctly? Then it's not valid as an opposition, right? So those are just examples of reasons why the chairs, even if there is a strong opposition, may think that overall there is consensus. But that needs time to think. It's not something that typically can be done, while in some policy proposals it can be like, oh, everybody agrees, that's clear. But when there is an opposition, you need to really understand why there is an opposition, and if it's just a misunderstanding because I come from Spain and my English is not the same from people that come from India or Japan or Korea or whatever, okay? Sometimes translations don't really work so well, and this creates confusion. So that's the reason I have first 4 weeks and then 2 weeks. I have a picture later that put it very clear, so I will look at that later on. If there is no consensus on the proposal, it's up to the authors, not the chairs, if they want to decide to withdraw it. The chairs can do a suggestion to the authors. If I am an author and I have been trying for 2 years with something and the community tells me no, 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 obviously I am going to withdraw it. But I don't think this is a decision of the chairs because, and I am not saying that's the case, but maybe some personal interest or differences between what the chairs think and what the authors think, and maybe the problem is not the community don't want the policy proposal, is the author is not good enough to explain it. And that might require more cycles, more time, or help from the Secretariat or whatever, okay? I think also it's important, if authors are not active, the proposal expires. So I think, because we have 2 meetings per year, it's good to have something that says that if a policy proposal is not updated in 6 months, it expires. And that forces the authors to follow the discussions with the community and take in consideration the inputs from the community. So I think this needs to be clearly stated, and that's what I am doing here. Now, the third step is what today is called the discussion after the OPM. I call this last call because it's the common name that we have in other places, not just registries, but also in ITF and many other places. So what I am doing here is, in the existing text, this period, I think, is variable. In terms of what? Why we have a last call time that can be, according to the actual text, 4 weeks, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8? Why? I think 4 weeks is enough for a last call. So I am fixing that term to strict timing. So 4 weeks after the chairs take the decision, if the policy reached consensus, the community has that time for weeks to comment, to give a final comment. And I just do a description of what I believe, and this is basically the same text that I got consensus in LACNIC, what I believe is a last call reason. So if something has been discussed already for, let's say, 2 years in different versions of the policy proposal, and then it reached consensus, bringing back to the last call the same when the policy has already reached consensus don't make sense. So I understand that the last call is if somebody discovers something that during 2 years we didn't realize it, then that's a reason for turning down the consensus. Okay? I think that should be that way. Otherwise, we can keep people that already was opposing without reason or as understanding from the community without reason a given proposal to keep turning it down. Okay, of course, if you have that valid reason, you need to substantiate it, you need to have a rationale for that, you need to explain to the community, and again, it's up to the chairs to decide that. And I am not sure if it was here or in the next part. What I am doing is, after this last call, maybe I am moving ahead for the next slide. After this last call finish, I give one additional week to the chairs to think among themselves. So we have decision in the meeting and in the list, 2 weeks maximum for the chairs to take a decision if there is consensus or not, 4 weeks for the last call, and then after the last call finish, the chairs have 1 additional week to review what happened during the last call. That's it. I was already thinking ahead of the next slide. So this is the thing. After the last call finish, the chairs should have some time to discuss among them. Maybe they have a clear decision because there was no comments opposing in the last call, so they don't need to wait for 1 week. They can announce in 1 second, okay? But if there has been comments, they need to review if that makes sense to turn down the previous consensus. And of course, then the authors, in case it's turned down, the authors could decide if they want to withdraw the proposal or want to come up with a new version taking in consideration the community comments. Now, and here there is no changes, we still have the endorsement by the AC. So I am not changing anything here, I just copied it and make sure that everybody understands that this is not changing. Now, one thing we don't have in the actual PDP is an appeal process. What happens if 1 or more members of the community believe that the chairs took a wrong decision and they declared consensus when it was not, or on the other way around? I think there should be an easy way, clearly stated to the community, to come to the list and say, hey, I believe the chairs took a wrong decision because this and this and this. And if despite that the chairs don't provide a rationale for that, of course that can or goes to the EC, right? I have added also a definition because there is not a definition of what today we call general agreement. So I have added a definition of route consensus, even calling for the RFC that it's basically describing what we are calling here route consensus. I am not going to read all the text, but that's just a definition. It's not part of the process, it's just guidelines for the chairs and the community to understand how the decision of route consensus is taken. And this is when I am trying to compare, at your left, you have the actual process, which I have taken from the website, and the 5 steps that the consensus is taking today. So we have the mailing list, the meeting, the assembly, how is the name? Annual members meeting, I think is that. The final call, the EC endorsement, and they have also a possible vote from the members if the AC requests that. So if you follow that, we have, again, the number 2 is basically the same people, but a restricted group that we have here. How come if the policy, if the PDP is about community, how come a restricted group can take over a decision of the community? I'm not sure that happened ever. I didn't wonder to ask the Secretariat before, but I don't think that that's nice. If that happens, that's because there is a big risk for APNIC as a membership organization, and that should be taken by the AC. Okay? So on the right of the slide, you have how will be the process according to what I am saying here. So we have the proposal coming to the process, a minimum of 4 weeks of discussion. Then we have the meeting. The chairs, in 2 weeks maximum after the meeting finish, they take a decision. Then we have 4 weeks for last call, and then 1 additional week maximum for the chairs to reconfirm the consensus. And then we have, as today, the IC endorsement. So it's a simple simplification, but I think it's good enough and is making the timing very concrete. Like, for example, the last call is no longer something between 4 and 8 weeks. Why? Who decides if we need 4 weeks or 8 weeks? I don't think it makes sense, okay? If there is discussion in the list, in the last call, opposing to the proposals, the chairs will have 1 additional week to reassess his decision. So, sorry, I copied this slide from a previous presentation. It should not say the second part of the sentence is wrong. It's fulfilling the objective above indicated, nothing related to the market. Sorry, it's too many proposals, so I copied 1 slide and I got it wrong. Obviously, this is not related to market at all. I just discovered it, sorry about that. So the objective of the policy is just to make sure that we have a process which is concrete, which is coherent, not timing that, for example, in the case of the last call is not explaining why 4 or 5 or 7 or 8 weeks, and also giving the chairs time to decide, not just asking them to be like more powerful, mentally powerful than anyone and take a decision on the spot, despite what happens here in the discussion. That's not fair, and I don't think it's good. I don't see there are any disadvantages. The membership has still the same chances to, if there is a risk or any big impact for the membership, to cancel it by means of the AC. And I think that's it. No impact for resource holders and references to other regions, and that's it. Questions? I know it's too long presentation, but I try it. I guess probably the best summary is this one. So probably the best is to stay here.
Too long and too many things. So
too long and
too many components.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mr. Rajesh?
Brajesh Jain, Jordi, while you are suggesting that chairs will be a stronger mind, but the transparency is at risk. If the burden is put on the chair and co-chairs on the 2 weeks' time to be able to decide, sitting in their own respective places, and mailing list, this will be, I think, very difficult, and this will probably violate the transparency principle, and it may lead to more appeals if that part is accepted, and it will probably create more problems than the solutions. This is my opinion. Personal, thank you.
I see that from a different perspective. Let's suppose during any policy presentation here, there are many emails in the mailing list. And of course, we agreed that even if it's not formally in the process, they are considering the mailing list. How come they can now follow the discussion in the meeting room, the confer, and the mailing list all in the spot. I don't think that's possible.
Actually, it is.
Well,
That's what we've been doing for the past year. We follow the mailing list, and we can gauge already before we start the policy sessions what's the temperature on the mailing list, even if there's not much emails. And it most of the time happen within the 2 or 3 weeks before the meeting. Then it's easy to gauge in the room, like you can see it as well. Confer is just an extra tool that help us to decide. And after that, it's either the community agrees with the proposal, then there's consensus, or if there's a doubt, it means that the consensus is not real. Therefore, it goes back to the mailing list for the next one. That's why we can really decide on the spot.
I was meaning if during the meeting there is a bunch of emails.
We've got
I know you are following them, but
we are following them. Qinghu is following the remote participation. It's a live system, and it's been working, I would say, almost perfectly for the past years. So having this extra 2 weeks,
you can use that or not. It's up to you.
Yeah,
but at least you have the chance if you have.
It's not the reason why it didn't reach consensus. It's whether it did or not. And if it did, it's very easy. And if the room is neutral, like for your precedent proposal, well, go back to the mailing list. And we never reject a proposal directly. It's always back to the mailing list, and then it's the author that decides to whether withdraw it or amend it according to the comments.
But basically, again, you are telling me that you never reject, and the PDP said you can. So it's better to clarify that?
Maybe, for this point. Back to the floor.
Thank you.
Ajay Kumar from Mumbai Internet Exchange, and in the personal capacity. What is the reason behind it? Do we have any real example in the past that there was some problem and chairs has taken wrong decision? I would like to know about it.
You mean for having the appeal process?
Yeah, for changing the process.
Well, this is my experience when you are participating in different regions. This is my experience of what I think we are doing as a best practice, let's say, but it's not according to the PDP. So if we are doing things that are not according to the PDP, is not better to adapt the PDP to what we are doing? Like, for example, considering the mailing list, that's not in the PDP process. So we should have that explicitly said. So someone participating without coming to the meetings really knows that this will be taken in consideration. Today, they don't know.
Not the consensus call.
Izumi, can I make a comment?
Yes, I have 2 comments. First, on the additional 2 weeks discussions period on the mailing list after the meeting. I do recall when we developed this PDP, we actually designed it so that we focus mailing list discussions before the meeting for the efficiency of discussions, and we have on-site discussions and remote participants are able to participate, so that we try to incorporate as many comments as much as possible, and then try to get a sense of the room at once for efficiency to reach an agreement. If we add additional 2 weeks, we might start rediscussing again. So I think it's like a balance between...
Izumi, just a clarification. These 2 weeks is not for continuing the discussion. It's for the chairs. If they believe they need more time, instead of taking the decision now, they can spend or invest up to 2 weeks to take a decision.
So it's
Not for the community.
Oh, so
It's for
not
the chairs.
Oh, okay. Oh, understand. So good. That's what I misunderstood.
Okay.
And if that's what's needed by the chair, fair enough. But at the same time, I'm trying to understand what problem we're trying to solve, because I haven't really observed any issues around that.
The problem I am trying to solve with that is that sometimes in other regions, I have seen the chairs are not able to decide on the spot. And I think if they need more time, we as a community, we want to make sure that they take a good decision, and may need just a couple of hours or maybe 5 minutes. By why we are going to interrupt the meeting for 5 or 10 minutes? Let's suppose they don't agree in the decision.
Okay, understood. But
Okay.
and you're suggesting to add 2 weeks for that?
At maximum.
Okay.
If
so-
they don't need that, they don't use that. But if they need maximum 2 weeks, they can take it. If they need just 1 hour after the lunch, they say what is their decision, for example.
Okay, understood the purpose. And then the second point, on the duplicate of consensus at the Policy SIG and at AMM. Yeah, I understand what you're raising, and that's what I've been, questioning as well, the purpose of having this additional step at AMM. So I just want to double check that whether this was based on bylaws and how it could affect. And if it doesn't, personally, I don't see any reason why we're making consensus calls twice on that particular part of the proposal that you're making.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sunny, you want to go?
Can we put the problem statement there?
Which one? There are 4.
There are
There's
there-
5.
several
There are 5
slides for
actually.
that.
So
Just go ahead and I will find it.
Can I go?
yeah,
This is Gaurav. Sorry, I disagree with your problem statement because I've been doing this for a long time and so have you. And I think the policies are just not interesting anymore. When you had interesting policies, when there were policies that impacted people, people were coming. As Randy said many years ago, we should just stop doing this V4 policy stuff because it's not interesting anymore. That's why people are not coming. And changing the process is not going to solve that problem. Right? So the whole statement that people don't participate is completely wrong. Because we have had full houses, we've gone through everything, we have had chairs stop the discussion and say, let's go and discuss this at lunch, come back and rediscuss it, because we can't make a decision. We have had things go to the EC and the EC send it back because they felt the discussion was not enough, right? When there are things that impact people, they are coming. So I think we're just trying to improve the process to make policies interesting. It's not going to change anything, right? Do you agree with that? Right, so
I don't really agree.
Why?
I think there are different parts of the problem.
What is
Again,
the root cause of the problem? Because the problem statement, your first one is saying
okay,
that,
let's
low
take,
level of community
let's take one
participation.
example. The PDP don't say that it's allowed to consider the mailing list. Let's suppose the chairs decide.
No, it actually, sorry, Budori. I used to be a policy SIG chair, right?
Yeah.
So I know you can overturn the consensus in the meeting on the mailing list. And that is calling for consensus. It does not have to say that. It explicitly says if there is, you can overturn the consensus reached at the meeting on the mailing list. I don't know how you read that, but for me, that is the last call, right? So you are adding to a process that already exists.
I don't think that we have that text in the actual PDP.
No, you can overturn it, right? That is the last
We don't
call.
have that text.
Why do you need
Show
the
me,
text?
show me, where is that text?
Let's put up the PDP on the screen then. We've done that in the past, Yodi.
I have
In fact,
the
it was-
PDP in the slides and it's not there.
It is something I have done. We have overturned a policy that reached consensus and the EC sent it back. There are enough checks and balances. And as I said, the process is secondary here. Go back to the problem statement. I don't believe in these problem statements. Thank you.
Sunny?
Just clarity that Jody is actually putting the actual test of the PDP and the changes he's making, so it's already in the slides. But I'm not sure why Craig is here, because I'm here to just see if everyone in this room actually understands the current PDP process and the current way of proposal moving each step. I can explain it clearly, but especially in terms of the appeals process. Are you there to talk about the appeals process?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll let you go. He's the legal advisor.
Craig Ng, APNIC General Counsel. I'm not making, I'm not advocating, obviously, or taking a position in relation to this, but just to provide some information. In relation to the appeals process, clearly the Executive Council has a role in the whole PDP because the final step in endorsing a policy by the Executive Council is for the Executive Council to be satisfied that the chair has done the job, the consensus process is correct, the community is sufficiently involved. So it just seems to me to be a redundant thing to have an appeal process in the meantime, because that's what the Executive Council is there to do at the end. So to have an appeals kind of just doesn't make sense to me, but that's just the information, that there is the check and balance right at the end, which is the role of the Executive Council.
Thank you, Craig.
So just to add to what Craig mentioned, there are checks and balances even before that last EC endorsement as well. Once this meeting is finished, the SIG chairs and also the NC members and the EC members meet together and they discuss what happened here. So that's one check and balances. And then the other one is that when it goes to the EC endorsement, that's when also they can stop if, if they believe that, there were some discrepancies in the decision. Thank you.
After you standing here for a long time.
Yes, Aftab Siddiqui. So, I mean, most of the things are already been discussed, so, but still, since I have mic, so let me say. The number one, you said like, it has to be, so I can tell you one thing. I can propose a policy anytime, any day, whatever it is. It has nothing to do with 4 weeks before the event. Whether it should be discussed during the event or not is the case. I can propose it anytime, right? But the whole point is whether it should be discussed or not. If I have an idea, if I am trying to solve a problem, I can propose it anytime, tomorrow, right now. But of course, it cannot be discussed because there are certain time limits. I mean, you have seen a response from the APNIC community, because what they do is they do the consultation internally and they combine the result and provide the feedback. And that's why you need more time. And that happens in many NIRs. And because of so many differences, most importantly is the language. And we need to respect that. Secondly, there are multiple checks of appeal processes, as Craig explained and Sunny explained, and we have done that. So I'm not sure what part of the policy guideline we are trying to solve. I mean, I understand and I respect your nitpicking, but I would keep it as it is because it hasn't created a problem in the past. So I mean, it's a famous statement in the policy saying, don't try to fix something which is not broken. So that's my
Thank you, Aftab. And I'll close the queue here, those who are standing here, because we're running out of time.
Let me explain
very briefly.
Just one simple thing makes sense to change. The PDP don't explicitly say the mailing list or the confer is considered. If someone, an author of a policy proposal, gets the policy proposal turned down because the comments in the mailing list, he can go up to the course if he wants, because that's not in the process.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. I'll make my comment later on. so Mr. Pankaj.
Yeah. Pankaj Chaturvedi.
Please be brief,
yes.
because we are running out of
already
time.
covered most of the things which I wanted to say have been covered by Izumi and Gaurav. And, the process, the legal process has also been covered very well. So what I would say, the proposal from what I feel is that you want to support the chair in deciding quickly either way the decision, yes or no. But has anyone from the chair or is the chair requested these kinds of proposals to support them? Or it is something which we feel that...
Can you stop, please? Can you stop, please? The transcription is not working, so we need to do it.
can have intra-conversations?
Yeah, you can have it in a conversation if you want to, as long as we resume. Are you ready, Sunny? So can we get extra 10 minutes for finishing?
Out of lunch? Time?
I think the reboot may take time. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can resume. Mr. Pankaj.
Yeah. Pankaj Chaturvedi, ISPI India. So I heard, as you said, I'm not going to take much time because the points which I wanted to raise have already been covered by Gaurav Izumi, and the legal perspective has already been given by the General Counsel. So my comment was that this proposal at all is there to support the SIG chairs or the co-chairs. So has there been a request from them that they are unable to fulfill their objective, and then they need additional, they need a tweaking in the proposal or in the process that this proposal has come? Thank you.
Not that I heard of.
I cannot remember anything happened like that, but Secretary can tell. I probably know that sometimes chairs say that no, we cannot take this side now. It takes take more time to do that. It happened anywhere? Probably not. It never happened. I'm not, but anyone knows that? Because some of us here for a long time. No, probably. Anyway, if we get that feedback, we'll let you know, Pankaj. Dr. Bojesh, Mr. Bojesh, Jenny.
Thank you, Brajesh Jain. This is with regard to the appeals process. While everybody has mentioned, I also not in agreement with the appeals. If there is an appeal, we will need 4 cracks, maybe 10 cracks. Thank you.
Someone?
Simon from Bangladesh. This is my comment. Jordi, you discarded the AMM, right? How much time you have saved there? I don't know. But you discarded AMM and you discarded the power of the community, because you see some of the APNIC meeting, only the community member, the ISP operators, they come to join only the AMM because they feel it's a festive for them because they are part of the community. So yeah, discarding AMM wouldn't be a good thing for the community. This is one. Second thing, after I'm really agreed with Gaurav seeing your problem statement. If you go to Bangladesh to a doctor, and if the doctor doesn't find any kind of disease in you, then they will prescribe you Panadol 2 times a day. So I guess you are just bringing a Panadol 2 times a day. Thank you.
Bit harsh comment. Anyway, Mr. Rupinder Pahar.
Yeah, Parhar from ISPA India. See, Jody, I can see what you are trying to do. You are trying to get a kind of an efficiency into the system so that policy proposals see their end point in a reasonable time frame. So that is one part. On the other part, what I see is that the community has a way of doing its work in its own ways. And it takes time. Transparency is required. So when the problem is efficiency into this, bringing efficiency into the system vis-a-vis the transparency factor, I think the transparency factor takes a higher stage, because after all, it is the community, it has to decide what it needs to do for its own self. So in this case, I would say that if we try and follow too strict time guidelines, probably we would be going wrong in the transparency factor. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and thanks for a lot of comments. Paul, want to say something? Oh, thank you. So we have got a lot of comments in the meeting, and we have got some feedback from the mailing list as well. And are you ready for the consensus for this proposal here? In the confer? Actually, there are different parts of the proposal, but it was single, but Barton actually speeded up. So should we go step by step? Can you go like that? Or? So as long as there are 5, can you see both sides we are seeing confer. In one side, can you see the text actually, that the slides, yeah, right. One side there will be the text that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different steps actually in this project. They can do it. Anyway, so I think we can. Sorry for keeping more time. Can we bring the proposal? Yes, so there are different parts of the proposal, and there is 5 steps where Jordi proposed text, and if you go to the step 1, and we'll be a bit quick because the conference is ready now, and the first one, that discussion before OPM, that it's a long text as well. So where is the change one? Okay, the change with the original text, I can see that if for Jody, can you speak up the step 1, that change you were expecting, clarifying?
Yes. So what do you want from me?
So we're going for the consensus of the first part.
Yes. So you are dividing the
yeah, right,
consensus in different
right,
parts,
right.
yes.
So if you can see the view of
I saw in that screen.
Yeah, right. So can you read out spell out this, that we are going consensus for this part actually?
So you want me to read it?
Yeah, right.
Oof, I have difficulties to. I think I can summarize.
Yeah, you can summarize.
Okay. That's basically trying to say that the mailing list should be officially considered. That's summarized.
That text you want to add, but we also got from the feedback that it is written that you can actually override, mailing list can override this even after the OPM as well. And chairs actually considered that, But should we go for the change of this text here? So those who are strongly supporting this opinion that to add mailing list explicitly in the PDP that should be considered. So those who are strongly support this proposal, this part only, part 1, please raise your hand.
Brajesh Jain, just please be more explicit what you are saying. The mailing list will be formally considered, informally?
What Judy...
What should I support or oppose?
Let me explain you. That mailing list is considered in the process for a long time and it's in the PDP, not in explicit language. Jody want to make it more clarified.
Not in the PDP.
Anyway, so, yeah, study.
Sorry, chairs, do apologize. We can't split the screen to show the proposal on one side and confer, but the slides are on the website. Maybe, at this time, if you can open the slides and see what step 1 means. But sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, Study.
But take note for next time.
Yeah, we are trying to spell it out here that he wants explicitly that mailing list should be considered in the consensus process. So those who are strongly supporting this part of the proposal, please raise your hand or put your comment in confer. Thank you. So those who support this part of the proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. Those who are neutral, please raise your hand. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. If you oppose to this part of the proposal, please raise your hand. And if you strongly oppose this part of the proposal, thank you, thank you. So if you move to the next session, can you part 2? Yeah, so you want to define the term consensus as a rough consensus, right? That's a change, and try to explain it more clearly. What is
so you make sure that the policy expires in 6 months, if not later.
And if there is a proposal submitted, okay, we should declare. Thank you, Stanley, for correcting. In the first part, actually, it didn't reach consensus. The part 1, we have went for a consensus in the meeting, also in the, but in the mailing list is not splitted, but the view we've got that the first part doesn't reach consensus. So let's look at the second part, where the term consensus is defined, and if any proposal doesn't reach, doesn't modify or update it for 6 months, that will be discarded from the proposal, from the list, right? That is what being tried to incorporate in part of the proposal. So those who are strongly supporting this part, please raise your hand. And in a confer, oh, can you refresh the screen of the? Yeah, it's ready now. So those who are strongly supporting the second part of the proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those who support the proposal, please put your hand up. Okay, thank you, thank you. Those who want to be neutral in this part, please raise your hand. Neutral. Thank you. So if you oppose the proposal, please put your hand up. Okay, thank you, thank you. Those who strongly oppose the proposal, please put your hand up. Thank you, thank you. So based on the room's temperature, confer, and also the comments from mailing list, this part also doesn't risk consensus. So we'll move forward to the third part of the process, and policy proposal. And
fix the time for the last call.
And this is the fixing the time for the last call. It is a yeah. Adam, you want to point out something?
Sorry, Chair. No, I have a comment on the Adobe Connect from a remote participant. It's a general one, but if I can read it out. It's from Ziam Abdeen. I strongly disagree for this policy just because of people are not engaging in the policy, only few are active. It takes more time for policy implement. We don't need to change the policy process. Even if more people participate or less, some policies are forwarded for several policy discussions and finally lost. Why can't we have another mechanism to attract more people and highly engage in the policy activities, like creating a video about the policy and presenting in advance to people to see? As many not willing to read a lot nowadays, only willing to read are reading and joining in this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the comment, and we can consider other approach to encourage more people as well, but also get some comment on what's the real fact actually that why we are not seeing more participation in all the proposals. So this one is the duration of the time to be in the mailing list. As per PDP, it is 4 weeks, but yes, for secretariat need, and we actually take 5 weeks, I should say, that for updating and finally posting it to the website and make it ready for the meeting. So Jody want to be accurate on that. You want to make it 4 weeks fixed. In 4 weeks, or we can keep 5 weeks, because secretary has concern, because from chair discretion, we take 1 week more, because the secretary needs that time to fix it. So if it's 4 weeks, then actually we're reducing 1 week time, maybe again in the operational area, secretary might be in challenge. So
but
that
is 4 weeks since you announced the consensus.
Oh, you're talking about the later part. Sorry for misunderstanding. That it's the last call. It should be 4 weeks, and at present it is 4 to 6 weeks, if I can remember correctly, right? 4 to 8 weeks. Yeah. Okay. So this is the after the OPM. If a policy goes for 4 to 8 weeks common period. So Jody the proposal actually want to fix it to a fixed 4 weeks timeline. So that is what we need to decide, that whether we will support it or you want to remain as it is 4 to 8 weeks with flexible time frame. So this is the third section of the policy proposal. And I like to go for consensus. Can you make ready of the... Yeah, that is already there. So after step 3, so those who are strongly supporting this policy change, please raise your hand. And those who are in support of this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those who want to be neutral here? And those who want to oppose this part? I can see. And if you strongly oppose this part, Thank you. Thank you very much. And we can tell that this part also doesn't risk consensus. We can see a lot of opposition and strongly opposition. But I will recommend that those who have opposition and strong opposition, please make your comments the reason why. Yes, some already expressed in the mic, but also you can, if author want to continue with this proposal, so please make your comment in the mailing list so that he can get more time to update the proposal. And now I'm going to the last part of the proposal, that is
that's the 2 weeks,
for
one week time for you to reconfirm the consensus after the last call.
Right? So this part is the fourth part, right? So you want to give chairs 1 week more time after the OPM to maximum 1 week to decide about the consensus, which we're doing currently doing in the meeting actually. So the proposal wants to allow the chairs to have 1 week more after the OPM to come up with the result of the consensus.
After the last call.
After the last call. Okay. So those who are in, is it already on the confer? Oh, so the step 4 is in the confer. So those who strongly support this part of the proposal, please raise your hand. Allowing chair 1 week more time after the last call. If you support this proposal, please put your hand up. Thank you. If you oppose the proposal, please put your hand up. Thank you. And if you strongly oppose the proposal, please put your hand up. Thank you very much. Strongly oppose. Thank you. Sorry for speeding it up. We try to get feedback from every part of it, taking a little bit more time, but I think it may help. So the fifth part, the endorsement from the issue, there is no change. So probably we don't need any consider that because there is no change in the proposal from the original text. So thank you, Jordi. The proposal did this consensus. And I must make some comment because if I remove my chair hat and being an operator here, like that, the question has come that what are more challenging? If we are having a lot of challenges providing services, so if there is change, if policy is a problem here, you will find a lot of people jumping in and try to resolve it. But if proposal is as it is working fine, so not creating any major obstruction into our operation, probably people do not jump in the policy discussion. So.
But look at the very interesting thing. The first part was, I think it was the first part, was about having formally the mailing list included in the process. And I see oppositions and strong oppositions. So that means the community is not liking that you accept the mailing list as part of the discussion.
I think it's a wrong explanation. I do not agree to that. Rather, what I feel that the community actually happy with the present PDP, the way it is being handled. And so those who are actually opposing, they're happy with the PDP and the process it is being followed. They don't feel they need any change here. And regarding another point you made in your comment regarding chairs, that why you're not rejecting proposal then actually. You know that the process we are following, we get the feedback from the community in different perspective, and every proposal has some merit. When we are accepting proposal, that there might be some improvement in the policy development process, and it may help the committee. That's why we accept that proposal. And if even it's not passed in the OPM, still there might be an opportunity to improvement. So rather rejecting it, we really like to offer the author to come up with improvement, and of course I must agree that we should be a little bit more vibrant in the mailing list.
Let's hope we get some comments in the mailing list.
Yeah, we should get some more comments and more feedback. And thank you for time, and Sorry for making it lengthy due to some technical glitch. Yep. Step 5 is there is no change, so we don't need to have any. But we get a lot of comments on the appeal process as well, actually. So probably, yeah. So I think if there are a few areas maybe we see some support in some of the section of the proposal. We see some support from the community. Some have supported it. So if author wants to continue the proposal that to some update and get the feedback from the room, and I will request those who are opposing, if author come back again with this proposal, so please put your comments, feedback upfront so that he can get the opportunity to correct it or remove it from the proposal. And with that, I like to close this session here and have a meal and join us at 2:32. Sunny, the next session is 2:30, right? 2:30, yes. So please join us 2:30. We have another 3 proposals to discuss. And thanks again.